Good afternoon, everyone. So glad to be back here at What's Up Asheville at WRAS Radio 100.7 FM. Thank you very much for everyone for listening. Thank you very much, Randy, for all the support here. And at this radio show, we like to discuss projects and initiatives at the city of Asheville. I'm Ricardo Basurto, your host, communication and public engagement specialist here at the city of Asheville. And today I have alongside with me an amazing colleague from the city of Asheville. He's Russ David, program manager at Interim Stormwater division manager at Public Works. Hi, Russ.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Thank you for having here. Let's start from the basic. Can you introduce yourself and briefly tell us what's your title indicates and what do you do at the city?
Sure. So my name is Russ Davis, and I am in the Public Works Department at the City of Asheville. I am the Stormwater Capital Program Manager, and I'm currently serving as the Interim Division Manager for Stormwater. So in my role as the Division Manager, I kind of manage the day-to-day operations of the division, just daily decisions, directing work, that sort of thing. And I am really grateful for this opportunity to come on this show because one of my goals in that division is to raise the profile of stormwater in the city. And that's kind of a difficult task because most people don't think about stormwater until something goes wrong or something doesn't work, as it should be. I mean, there's a few of us think about stormwater all the time, and that's probably enough. After we fix something or leave an area or a project is complete, our best work is buried.
I think that's a great motto. Our best work gets buried. That's certainly putting everything behind and moving along, right?
That's right. It's out of sight, out of mind, and in a lot of ways that's great. Everything goes well. But, stormwater impacts our lives daily, and most people don't notice it.
Yeah, I can understand, it's in my house when the plumbing is working, I never think about it until, oh my goodness, I have to call the plumber or something. I assume it's kind of the same, but probably not the same. So what is stormwater, and why it is so important for the city and to the people of the city? Yeah.
Sure. So, stormwater is different than water and sewer. And, those are a little easier concepts. When you turn on the faucet in your house, you're purchasing water. And, you use that water, you bathe in it, cook with it, and then it goes down the drain. And then you are, paying MSD, or Metropolitan Sewer District, to clean that water and put it back out. So that's a very transactional.
Directly in between the citizens and the...
Exactly. So stormwater is a little different. So generally stormwater is rainwater and groundwater. And so it rains and a portion of that water soaks into the ground. The rest of that water that doesn't soak into the ground is called runoff. And so more pervious areas like grass and forests allow a lot more of that water to soak into the ground, and more impervious surfaces like parking lots and roadways and rooftops, that water can't soak in, so it runs away, and it's called runoff. Okay. So like a big parking lot at a supermarket, that doesn't allow any water in the ground, so that water gets piped and leaves the site and then goes to wherever it's going.
Got it.
So dealing with that water eventually drains, from here to the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic Ocean. We're kind of on the ridgeline, so it goes to one of those two places eventually.
Right. Here up in the mountains, all the water that we're having certainly has to spread somewhere. And just to clarification between the difference in between the rainwater and the runoff, the rainwater will be theoretically easily absorb naturally deal with it, but the runoff it's then when your department has to kick in, right, and take care of some of the stuff.
Exactly. If there was no pavement and there were no pipes, there would be no reason to have a stormwater department.
Right.
But you can think of so we manage that runoff. We try to clean that runoff, convey that runoff. trying to make that runoff not damage anything on its way downstream. That is what the Stormwater Division is working on every day.
Got it. So so for the people who are listening, if just like myself, not a specialist in the dynamics of it, the largest the city roads, their parkings, everything, then more we have to dedicate to the runoff to make sure like more could be properly dealt and at the same time could be properly absorbed, right?
Absolutely. So our stormwater system is kind of like the veins and the skeletal system of a person. It's just this running conduits underneath the ground. Sometimes above the ground when you see ditches or streams or swales. And in general, our city grew up over 100 years ago.
Right.
We were pre Great Depression era city, and that gorgeous downtown and all the old neighborhoods that everyone loves so much about Asheville. Some of our stormwater system is the same age.
Wow.
We have replaced a ton of that, but in some areas it's that old. But that even the pieces that have been replaced over the years, those are just perpetual maintenance, and you just you think about somebody that's been alive a long time. Sometimes they have to have a little tune-up at the doctor, and that's similar to what we do. We just try to keep the conveyances and the pipes clean and open
and working, right?
Right.
And I assume like that put us like in certain position of like a tension here, because in one hand we want to make sure like all the rainfall there it's properly absorb, like follows their through, but at the same time it's like we want the streets to work like perfectly with not one single hole. So it's kind of like we have to deal with this process of like the nature is trying to the water is trying to open its space, and at the same time it's like no we need the roads and the sidewalks to work like spotless, right?
Yes, nature is relentless. Stormwater never stops. Streams just flow, and that's what we want. Obviously, we want to keep those systems, so it's this management between the natural environment and our built environment. And so, that brings me to another, thing about stormwater. We're really on the front lines of dealing with climate change. And our city has taken a very proactive stance for changing our carbon footprint and climate resiliency. But, that will not affect the next 20 or 30 years of things that are already set in motion. So we can expect a lot more of those extreme weather events in our region. And that's, some of the reasons that make having a really healthy stormwater system very important.
And I think that if I understand correctly, then the stormwater must be a crucial participant, a crucial actor in the whole planning of the growth of the city and like in the 20 years plan that we're developing and more, right?
It's got to be, yeah. Every project that comes through, whether it's a private development or a public development, is reviewed for how they are managing stormwater and whether it kicks in our requirements for detention or water quality or groundwater recharge or any of these other things that we try to do. But stormwater has to be a part of the thinking process, just like you're trying to plan for water and sewer and access to all your roadways. Stormwater is just another part of the matrix.
Right. So we certainly need this department and the stormwater division both for help us to plan for the future and to urban development, but at the same time they have to do a lot of hard work on down to the ground work, right? Like how many people are in the division? And what do you organize like internally? How do you manage to get like all these duties done?
Right. Well, the Stormwater Division is a part of Public Works.
Okay.
And our division has a little over 40 really hardworking people that are working every day to improve drainage and reduce flooding and improve water quality in the city limits and for everybody that's downstream of Asheville.
Right.
And, the Stormwater Division is basically set up similar sized cities in the United States through the Clean Water Act, a federal program, are required to have a stormwater program. So that's basically what set ours in motion. that tries to restore and maintain the integrity of our waters and dramatically reduce water pollution. That's kind of the directives of the Clean Water Act.
Right.
And some other things that we're trying to accomplish, daily is reduce stormwater infrastructure failures. We do that through proactive and reactive measures. We try to reduce flooding on our streets and private property. Same thing, proactive and reactive.
Yeah.
And then we, are reducing environmental degradation because of sedimentation, erosion, and illicit discharge. And illicit discharge can be anything from someone has, illegally hooked up their, sanitary sewer to the stormwater system, or someone changes their oil in the car and dumps the oil down the stream into the drain. So we're trying to limit and eliminate those types of pollutants as well.
Lovely. Now that you mentioned that, I would like to jump to a topic that I think is really important. How we can engage the community with this. I mean, if someone wants to report an issue, I know we have the Asheville app for doing so, but on the phone, like just for mentioning, if you see like any illegal discharge or activity that must be reported, the phone that you can call is 828-251-1122. That's 828-251-1121. But yes, we can report that, but what else can we do to make sure like the community engage and prevent this process?
So yeah, the Asheville app is a great resource to be able to report straight from your smartphone. The number you gave, that's our holiday and weekend number. If it's after business hours, that's the 251-1122.
Oh, great.
During normal business hours, 7 a.m. to 5:30, that's 828-232-4567. And that's for anybody that sees illicit discharge. They have a concern about their neighbor seems to be pouring paint down the drains, or there's a construction project or some grading that might have erosion or sedimentation or any emergency failure, sinkholes, or anything like that. Those two phone numbers during days and weekends are the easiest way. And and that's another, I wanted to make sure I took every opportunity to plug the website here.
Yeah.
And the website, it has all of this information, all the apps and phone numbers and ways to get in touch. And it's a tremendous source of information about, flooding, flood preparedness, all of the contacts in the stormwater department, and information that anything you want to learn about all our federal mandates, like
Right.
FEMA and our NPDES permit, and a lot of good stuff. And I would also encourage anyone in the community to sign up for the AVL Alerts program, because that is a way for the city to be able to get information straight out to you when there's something happening, road closures or flooding and things that pertain to my department. That's
Right.
one of the ways we try to get the word out.
Absolutely. So once again, we want to encourage everyone who is listening to subscribe to the ABL alerts, so if there's like any emergency of like something that you must be alert, you can do it. Also, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to visit the website of the city of Asheville, not only about like the stormwaters, of course, but to check out some of the other projects that we have that might be happening in your neighborhood or in your area. For instance, I want to remember everyone we have till April 8th, so next week from today, to participate with their comments on the South Slope Vision Plan Survey. This is a planning process led by the city of Asheville with the community and business stakeholders in the South Slope to develop a long-term vision for the area. So please visit publicinput.com/South-Slope. That's publicinput.com/South-Slope. That's one example of many projects in which the community can participate and let us know their thoughts, opinions, feelings, opposition towards certain projects that we are developing. And as you were mentioning, we want the people to participate, to let us know what do they want, what projects, right? And what's kind of like in the line, what future projects might people get into in the future?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention, that we absolutely want people involved also. There's so many moving parts in stormwater, so we want just generally to have everyone to have the information that everything drains to the streams. So everything that goes into a storm inlet or a curb inlet, everything that goes into a ditch, anything that lands on the ground from rain will eventually end up in the streams. So that includes leaky engines and engine oil, excessive fertilizer or weed killers and insecticides. All of those things are draining to our waterways. And
beautiful image.
I know. And another part of that is a way that other people can get involved and our neighbors can get involved is to keep our drains clean. If you have a drain near your home and especially in the fall with leaves, we have a tremendous problem with leaves, and in the summer it's grass clippings. People kind of blow those out into the roadway, and it's an issue for our street sweepers because they are part of our program is sweeping the streets and keeping those clean so those pollutants don't make it into the waterways.
Right.
And you don't have to adopt a drain formally, although we do have that program in a few neighborhoods.
That's really great to know.
But, get out there, wear some personal protective equipment if you're going to be putting your hands down in there and just clean those drains, and it gets the water off the roadway and helps us reduce flooding.
I mean, we're talking about like a crew of like almost 40 people in the department and the division, but 40 people to take care of like all the sewers in the city is not enough. I mean, we should rely more on like people getting involved, and in the end, it's also kind of like self-preservation thing, if you want to say it. Is like if the drain in front of your house or your garage is getting like clogged, then it's gonna get messy. It's not gonna be pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. And helping with those local type things are that helps reduce our maintenance load, because like you said, we have about a little over 40 people that work in stormwater all the time. And I'll just tell you how that group is divided generally.
Right.
So we have a stormwater operations group. That's our in-house forces, and that's probably 3/4 of the people that work there. And those guys are basically divided out into construction and maintenance.
Okay.
And these guys are out there every day working to replace pipes in the ground, expand stormwater system. They're replacing our old and undersized systems. And then they're cleaning out and creating these roadside ditches. And then the maintenance, this is the part that surprises people sometimes, is they're fixing sinkholes and replacing pipes also, but part of our maintenance program is we have 3 giant vacuum trucks. I don't know if you've ever seen these guys driving around town. Those are out cleaning the storm drains every day, keeping them unclogged, and it keeps the pollutants out of our streams and waterways.
Which is great. I mean, if we like to go hiking outside, like we can do it properly, like say, we're going to the gardens of Asheville or something like that. It's like, no, we need to have the the sewers.
Absolutely. And then we have part of what is required through our federal permit is we have to do street sweeping, and our street sweepers are really just giant vacuums, and they keep they get all of the brake dust and leaves and debris and cigarette butts out of the roadway. They take them to a proper landfill facility rather than all of that just would eventually wash right into the waterways otherwise. Then we have, in that same maintenance crew, we have a camera crew, and they're out there with a little tiny robot that is really heavy, but he's small. And, he'll crawl through 1,000 feet of pipe at once and just taking video and pictures where we can see those failures. And then, whenever anyone calls 811 when they're about to dig in the ground, we have a group that does utility locating.
Okay.
And they're out there every day, again, just trying to make sure no one is digging through our stormwater lines when they go to open up the ground.
Right. I remember like reading in this site that part of like the things that we do, that you do at the division, is like education programs to the people in general about like how to properly take care. And I think like sometimes we know, like you were mentioning, like your when you're smoking, you should not like throw the remainings because that's significantly a pollution source.
Absolutely.
What are actions like on daily basis people can do to help take care a little bit of, our water system?
Well, again, that kind of goes back to that illicit discharge is what our technical term for it is. And we have a group in the city that Keisha Lipe, she is out there all the time doing outreach and education in the schools.
Oh, cool.
To let people know, hey, again, everything drains downstream.
Mm-hmm.
What you do in your yard and in front of your home is affecting the ecosystem. So, we try to let people know that just what you do has a ramification on your neighbors and on the health of the French Broad River, and that is one of our primary functions.
Right. We were saying the same way you don't throw certain stuff into your toilet because you don't want to clog there or like have a mess in your own house.
Exactly.
We should try to encourage people to act the same way with the sewers and the installations for all the city, right?
Of course. we wanna keep everything out of, ideally we want just water going down the drains and into the streams, because like I said, those pollutants they will eventually settle somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they'll either settle in streams or in lakes, or styrofoam and things like that will make its way all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. So we want to try to eliminate that fully. That's one of our goals of our program, is to have everyone working on the same team for that.
Yeah, please don't pollute like our waters. Like I love to go like watch out the reindeers and the bears and stuff like that. And
yeah, we got to keep their home just as clean as ours.
Right.
So so that's our operations group. They do these day-to-day in-house things, and another function and a large budget portion of our program is our capital improvements program. Mm-hmm. And these are larger, longer term plan projects that have more of a regional and community impact. And these are projects that are just too large to tie up our operations crews. They have so many things they're dealing with every day. So these are things that we contract out. So over we have our current system is planned out about 8 years into the future of projects that we are aware of now. Mm-hmm. We use a ranking system that includes what causes reduction in flooding, local or regional, the cost of the projects, if we're cooperating with other agencies, water quality impacts, green infrastructure, and we incorporate equity into that as a part of that ranking system also, to make sure that we are treating all of the areas of town fairly and giving the same kind of investment that's needed across the board.
That's great. Yeah, sometimes we can see that it appears that we are like working on like certain neighborhoods and ignoring others. We certainly don't want to do that. And at the same time, you were saying we work with different agencies, federal government, state government, local organizations, but certainly neighborhood associations, like people who wants to voice their thoughts and opinions. That's also a key element here.
Yeah, and all of our projects, when we do especially a large capital project, we try to bring in as many partners as we can, because we're going to be in a neighborhood for a while. It's going to be disruptive while we try to install these giant pipes in the ground.
Certainly.
So sometimes
you will notice.
Oh yeah, everybody notices. But we are trying to cooperate with MSD or the City of Asheville Water Department. If they have a project in that area, if they have pipes that are beyond their lifespan or they need to upgrade, we all try to get into these areas at the same time so we can share our expenses for asphalt and some of the really just getting in there one time, getting everything done that we can, and then leaving an area as good as we can.
Excellent. Well, that's great to hear, because then if we're talking about there's going to be one project to redo some of the pavement in a certain area, or we are planning to adjust some system or so, then we try to combine efforts of different departments to make sure what are some of the upcoming projects, what we can see in the foreseen future.
Well, I appreciate you asking about that, because one of the goals of today's time is to let people know about a big project that's right out in front of the studio here on Patton Avenue,
Okay.
just about a couple blocks down from Klingman Avenue to French Broad in that corridor. We're going to be doing some work along there. We call it the Carter and Patton Stormwater Project.
Oh.
And that means we're incorporating Carter Street from the north, and then along Patton Avenue, and then Ann Street to the south. And this is kind of a typical stormwater program in that we are going in there to replace some storm system that is undersized or collapsed, and get it located properly inside the right of way. And this project in particular, we're going to be doing a lot of ADA compliance, American with Disabilities Act, where we're going to be replacing curb ramps and sidewalks on both sides of the street. Making sure we're getting rid of our tow trips and improper slopes. And so while we are doing a project that is just absolutely stormwater focused, we're trying to make that area as good as possible when we leave. So trying to get rid of other issues. That particular corridor is highly used for our homeless population, so they are some of the primary beneficiaries of this. We're reducing people getting splashed when they're walking on the sidewalk. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you're homeless and you get splashed in the middle of winter, it can be life or death. So, we take our job very seriously, and we try to think of the impact that we're having on the people that we are working for, and we're working for the citizens. So
certainly, I mean, even if you're just like walking on the street after it rain, if you're trying to go biking in the area, it's complicated to do so, right?
Absolutely. The longer stormwater stays on the roadways and doesn't get into the proper conveyances, that it can be a safety hazard from ponding and people flooding out their cars, and emergency vehicles can't get through. So when we do these large capital projects like the Patton Street, Patton Avenue, Carter Ann project, we're focused on a whole host of things that we're going to be able to improve while we're out there.
Okay. And as you just mentioned, it's going to be the ADA compelling with like the regulations. So trying to not only make it like more eco-friendly, to call it in a way, but also like more inclusive to all mobility situations.
Absolutely. There are, for most people that drive through that corridor, the sidewalks look fine, and, you can walk out there just fine. But if you have an impairment or a physical limitation, then if your street ramps aren't installed as best they can, or if you have slopes that make it difficult to balance, then these small things really add up to being impediments for people, and we're wanting to have all access for all of our citizens. So that's a lot of what we're focused on when we do our stormwater projects. Not just moving stormwater, but really, how can we make these areas update them and make them as compliant as we can.
Absolutely. You were mentioned at the beginning, those are like over 100 years old, so we want to keep it updated and make it like sure that we are like improving and keep it on time. So, well, that's fascinating. Certainly has been like a really informative talk. Like I feel it that way. So I don't know, before we leave, I'd like to ask you, Russ, there's something else that we might want to know. Sign up for AVL alerts. Don't forget to do that, please.
Yeah, as much as I can push people to go look at the website, to look at asheville.nc.gov, and go to the stormwater under departments, and you can learn so much about how we operate, what mandates, federal and state guidelines we operate under, and then how they can get involved and sign up and get alerts and just be part of the solution for stormwater.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. That's our time for today's program. Stay tuned. Thank you once again, Russ, for being here. And please, everyone, stay tuned. We'll be back soon to talk about another city projects right here on WROS 100.7 FM. Stay tuned. Take care of each other, Asheville. Good day.